Hi, welcome to the channel Coder's Arc, where we unravel the world of coding and architecture together. And in today's video, I will be talking about Claude Code Skills. Now, if you are a developer or an architect, you must be familiar with one of these popular coding orchestration tools like Cursor, Copilot, Codex, Agentforce Vibes, Kiro, Claude Code. In this video, I will be talking about Claude Code Skills in depth and show you in VS Code through an extension, as well as walk you through an architecture diagram on how Claude Code Skills work behind the scenes. Before I do that, let me quickly refresh your memory on agentic frameworks that I've covered in the past, like AWS Strands, LangGraph, LangChain, Bedrock Agents, or Agentforce Agents. These agentic orchestration frameworks work very similar to each other. In principle, they use the LLM to be the brain behind solving and reasoning through the problem. And second, they also have tools that are available to solve the problems in a very specific manner so that the agent or the LLM is not hallucinating through solving the problem. So these coding orchestration frameworks like Claude Code work very similar to the Bedrock agents in a way that it is an orchestration framework. Under the hood there is an LLM, and then also the framework is responsible for executing on skills in the same manner that the Bedrock agents are responsible for executing on the tools. So while in principle they are similar, it's important to note that they are used for different types of problems. The Bedrock agents or the LangGraph, Agentforce agents, they are used to solve product workflow problems, but Claude Code or these other tools like Cursor, they're used to solve the coding orchestration problems, so complex coding problems. So now without any further delay, let's take a look at the architecture and let's take a look at how this works in VS Code. So now let's take a quick look at how the Claude Code skill architecture works. So the user goes in the Claude Code CLI or terminal or even a VS Code extension or the Claude Code Cowork UI that is provided and asks a question, hey, I want to perform task A. Now Claude Code, which is an intelligent orchestrator, parses three things. It parses the Claude.markdown file for getting the relevant project context, the memory.markdown file for internal context management. These are the things that Claude Code learns along the way. It is not exposed to the user, so you will never be able to manipulate it, but this is something that Claude Code manages internally. And finally, the most important thing is the skills markdown file, which has the definition of all the skills. So skills are pretty self-descriptive. These are repeatable units of work that can be performed by your application. So think of an application that you might be designing for, let's say, a data analyst. What are some of the skills that a data analyst need to do their job? They need to be able to connect to a system of record. That could be one skill. They need to prepare the right SQL queries to be performing the data pull. That is another skill. They need to do the data analysis using ML algorithms. That could be another skill. Then finally, they prepare the data in either graphs or reports or Word documents. That could be another skill. And finally, sending out notifications to the important people in the organization. So if you have an application that does a data analyst skills or the data analyst job, you can have the definition of those skills and you can prepare that in the skill.md file individually per skill. Again, this is just an example. Your application could be for a grocery store, it could be for a car mechanic, whatever it is, right? So the concept is the skill.md is the most important file that you need. And then when the first call to the LLM is made, it's not passing the entire skill body inside of it. It is only passing the name and description. So that the LLM now has the understanding of the project context, has now an understanding of the internal memory management context, as well as skills of or the skill capabilities of your application. And now it knows, okay, I need to perform task A. These are all the skills that I have available. Which skill do I need explicitly to perform my current task? And then LLM picks that right skill just based on the name and description. Why we pass only the name and description is because we do not want to increase the context. There is limited context windows for LLM, so you don't want to pass massive skill definitions inside the context. So the first step just passes the skill name and description. So once the LLM knows which skill it needs to do to solve a problem, the Claude Code now extracts the entire skill body and passes it over to the LLM, so that now LLM can intelligently follow the steps that are defined in plain English in the skills markdown file and start to use those to solve your current problem. So LLM is going to read the steps that are defined in the skills body and uses them to suggest how to perform tasks iteratively. Again, this is a pretty iterative process. If you remember, very similar to strands, the whole goal of passing skills is so that the LLM is not using its general information to solving a problem. You want your LLM, you want your application to be solving a particular problem in a very deterministic way, not reimagining or reinventing the wheel every time it needs to solve a problem. And finally, the user gets a response. After the LLM iterates, Claude Code and LLM iterates through the problem, you get the final response. Okay, so now very briefly, I want to show you in VS Code what and where skills reside. So if you look on the left side of the screen, in my folder, in my project folder, there is a folder called Claude, and inside that there is a folder called skills, and that's where I've defined my skills that are relevant to my current project. One is an add source, debug source, sync contract, and test estimation. These are my specific skills. For your application, you can define your own set of skills. Important thing to know is that there is a skill.markdown file in each one of these folders. And if you look at it on the right side, these are nothing but very plain English. As you can see on the top part, there is a name, description, and a couple of parameters, like what are the allowed tools. But on the right and on the bottom, you will see the step-by-step details on how a particular skill must be performed. Again, if you relied on just the general information that is present within the LLM, you will get a different response, not the same deterministic response every time, but by providing the skill markdown definition and description and the skill body, you will be able to define deterministic steps that you need to take, your application needs to take to solve a problem. Now, one other thing I quickly want to show is in my VS Code, I have installed the Claude Code extension. Again, you can install it as a CLI, or you can install it using the Claude Cowork, and there is a much better UI. I'm a developer, I prefer using this VS Code extension. And as you can see, this is where you would ask your question. So like I was saying, I want to create a connection to data connection to my ERP system. So you can define that over here and then click the go button, and that's where it will use the entire orchestration scheme that I had defined in the video earlier. Also, you can explore a few other settings over here, like you can explore the context setting where you can add the file or another file from this project. Then you can switch the model. By default, Claude Code uses Claude models, but you can also have other models, and you can also play around with different settings like accounts and usage. You can customize the style. You can use agents, which are the concept of agents is very similar to skills. I will cover it in a different video, but these are some of the options that you get. And also, if you look very carefully over here, there are 3 options in Claude Code. One is a plan mode, which I use whenever I'm starting a complex project. I use a plan mode, then option to ask before edits, so that you can verify the changes before Claude Code is suggesting them. And once you build some more level of trust, you can use the edit automatically option. Again, I think this is a very high level overview, but hopefully you understood what the concept of skills in Claude Code is. Quite honestly, in my opinion, it's more of a marketing term. At the end of the day, it is making a call to the LLM and you're passing the right context. But Claude Code has done a fabulous job in defining the framework, defining the scheme in which you make calls to the LLM, using that wrapper on how you send the information. So again, I think that's all I wanted to cover in this video. If you found the value in this content useful, please hit the subscribe and like button, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.